welcome to my channel. My name is Brianne Beebe. If you're new here, I'm a high school geometry teacher, and the thing that has changed my teacher life has been using interactive notebooks. Interactive notebooks really guide my instruction and they structure my classroom, so I feel like I cannot live without them. Yet here we are going into the 2020-2021 school year. This decade's gonna be rough with all the 20s, but we're going into the school year that's going to be just difficult. Let's just use that word, difficult. How am I going to actually teach my students? Other math classes, I don't feel like I would be as reliant on notes, but in geometry we have postulates, theorems, vocabulary. There's so many things that they have to know by name and memorize that I've always used notes for geometry because there's a lot. It's also all just very new to them. It's not like algebra where they've been really preparing for algebra since technically elementary school, but definitely since middle school. So I don't know if this is something that might help you, but something that someone suggested to me when it dawned on me like interactive notebooks will not be happening this year was that she was planning to get big Ziploc bags and hold the composition notebook with a pair of scissors, glue, colored pencils, highlighters, pencil, etc. all in this bag so that students were only taking a bag. So they would get their bag, all their stuff is in it, they're not sharing supplies with anybody. So I considered this, but then the other question becomes, how do I distribute paper to students? Because I like to have them just take it from a tray on their way in, and I don't think that's safe this year. I don't know. We haven't really gotten much guidance yet. We are just waiting on stuff, honestly. So that's not gonna happen. And then just in terms of having to demonstrate how to do things, I don't know that I could do that from 6 feet away. At the beginning of the school year, students need to know how to glue things in and how to make pocket pages. And very often I come right over to the student's desk and fold the paper for them to show them how to do it. I can't do that from 6 feet away. Although I will say if you're trying to pursue using interactive notebooks in your classroom and you have a document camera, you could do demonstrations that way. I just don't. So that's just not something that's going to be an option for me. As I'm filming this, we don't actually know what's happening for the school year. Plans have been proposed, but we're waiting for word from above about what is actually happening. But according to the plans that have been shared with us so far, it looks like they want everything done digitally. So then I had to wonder, how could I share notes and information for geometry digitally? And then I started to hear the words digital interactive notebook thrown around, did some research and found some interesting things. Some people are kind of just setting up Google Slides to be interactive, where it doesn't resemble a notebook whatsoever. It's just kind of like a slide presentation. But then I found that someone put together Google Slides so that they look like a notebook, and I fell in love and actually made a connection because it looked very similar to the digital planner that I created last month. So I just ran with the idea. So I could do Google Slides with my students. We are a Google school. We use Google for everything. And I feel like notes in Google Slides would be relatively easy to reference. So I spent a lot of time brainstorming and thinking out how I would do a digital interactive notebook, and I decided to make every unit its own notebook. So every unit is its own slides presentation. So the units will all be separated. And I laid out my slides so it looks like a notebook as best as I can. So the main thing is that notebooks are in portrait format. They're like this. But for slides and on a desktop computer, it goes like this. So I had to adapt and just kind of change my mind around what this would look like. So I made my slides and my notebook landscape. With it being landscape, even if students have an iPad, they can just rotate it and then it fills the screen much like it would on a Chromebook or desktop. So I decided to put the tabs across the top because that's where the most space is. So students are able to click on tabs to get to new topics, kind of like in my digital planner. And then I thought about how I have a lot of fill in the blank notes. So over top of the blank, I started inserting text boxes so students can still fill in the blanks. I decided that I would still leave space for students to show their work. So what I did in the spring, mostly in my calculus class, because I really needed to see the work that they were doing, was I would have them do their work on a piece of paper and then take a picture of it and either upload that into Google Classroom, or depending on what we were doing, I had them upload it into Google Slides. So in order for my students to do that for their interactive notebook, I'm going to be sending them directions on how to put their image into slides and crop and rotate, resize, and just move it into the space where it goes. So overall, I felt pretty good about being able to adapt the notebook to digital, but there were a few things that were bothering me, and just by taking the time and space to like breathe and just kind of let these ideas marinate, they all came to me. So I was going to miss color coding, like highlighting, and for that I decided to create an image that was transparent. So if students drag the image over top of text, it now looks like it's highlighted. And I mean that with text that is a part of the slide that students cannot move. If students create their own text box, so they can highlight what's in the text box. I was also worried about things like graphing, like how would students graph digitally, and they can, because in Google Slides you can add lines, you could add dots. For mine, I put a point, like a picture of a point, a bunch of times in a slide so students can drag and drop the point to where it goes on the graph, and that's it. Now they can graph. So it's just taking the time to, first of all, not stress about everything, but to just let these ideas come, because they will come to you. So if you're stressed out or struggling about what to do for how to teach things digitally, do not worry, there is a way. So at this point, I've gone through and taken 2 of my units and turned them into digital interactive notebooks, and I feel good because I don't have to worry about that during the school year. It's done. All I have to do is figure out what days we're doing what pages and all that. I'm going to make my lesson videos just like I did in the spring for students, so they can follow along with the lesson video and with their interactive notebook and fill in the blanks, do the work and all that stuff. I can even link those videos directly into my slides, which makes it so much easier. So I'm excited about this idea, and like I said, if you're worried about anything for the school year, just give it time to marinate, because it'll come to you. The only thing that I have not figured out yet is how I'm going to grade the notebooks, and probably the easiest way is to have students turn them in at the end of the unit instead of having to go back and forth, and have them send it to me multiple times throughout the unit. The way that units go typically is most of them would take roughly 2 to 3 weeks. Online, I don't know what the expectation is. If it's like how it was in the spring, we were getting through maybe 2 topics a week, sometimes less. So some of these units could actually end up lasting a lot longer. And also it's going to depend on what kind of grading I have to do anyway, because we don't know that yet. We don't know when grades would be due. I'm assuming probably around the same time. But there's just a lot of like unknowns up in the air, and I just feel good knowing that I have still like a similar structure to what I would be doing in the classroom ready to go. So it has been requested, because I've been sharing about what I'm doing for digital interactive notebooks on Instagram, that I film a tutorial on how to make your own, and I absolutely will. That will probably be my next video. But in the meantime, I was also going to try to put up templates for anyone that doesn't want to take the time to make their own and would rather just have something pre-made and ready to go. So if I'm able to get that done before this video goes up, it will be linked below. So that's all I have to say on the topic of interactive notebooks and this upcoming school year. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, or let me know what you guys are doing for school this year, because it's crazy. And as always, thanks for watching.